one can really experience what America was during the immigration phase if one is to come to Scranton and see this melting pot where we refuse to be melted down.
And we came up here to take the tour because I wanted the children to see where their great-grandfather and their grandfather worked. I wanted them to have a little idea of what their heritage was.
By our ledger, we've having people here from all over the country and all over the world.
Through the mountains and over the road, American history begins to unfold. It's the story of our past being told. It's Scranton, Pennsylvania. Ethnic heritage, friendly and warm. Meet the people and feel right at home. It's a place you'll feel all your life you have known. It's Scranton, Pennsylvania. Ride the train on down the track. Put your feet up, just sit back. Enjoy the scenery, 4 seasons a year. Pennsylvania's next great city is happening here. Meet Phoebe Snow, she's pointing the way.
Hello, hello. I'm Phoebe Snow. I've just arrived from Buffalo, and my gown of white stayed clean and bright upon the road of anthracite. I really am Phoebe Snow. For 80 years I've been just a legend, but now I've come to life as the mascot and the host for the friendly city of Scranton. Let me guide you through my hometown and meet the people who live and work in the anthracite capital of the world.
Oh yes, it's Scranton. It's Scranton, Pennsylvania.
The perfect place to begin your visit to Scranton is at the Lackawanna Station. Built in 1908, it was one of the most impressive train stations in the nation. It now stands as a historic and luxurious Hilton hotel. I'd like to show you around. The original stained glass has hung for 80 years, forming a barrel ceiling for an opulent main lobby and restaurant. One of the most extraordinary features of the Hilton are the numerous murals which decorate the walls of the grand lobby.
The murals around the lobby feature the route that the famous Phoebe Snow train traveled when the train itself was in its prime. When you step into the hotel, you feel like you've stepped into a grand hotel from Europe. You feel that you've actually taken a step back into time in a period when everything was so opulent and wonderful and exquisite.
We'll give you plenty of time to look around when you visit. But now, let's get acquainted with the birthplace of historic Scranton at the Iron Furnaces.
This site is fascinating because it's probably the most historically significant site in all of Scranton. Most people today think of Scranton as being the anthracite capital of the world, and truly it was after the late 19th and early 20th century. But prior to that, it was iron and steel that was Scranton's claim to fame. And we've got here at Scranton 4 interconnected stone blast furnaces, which is, as far as we can determine, the only such type of furnace in the nation and probably the world still in existence today. So architecturally, it's quite a gem.
Many of Scranton's early structures are perfectly preserved. We can tour the very home of the family that gave Scranton its name.
It's a very vivid example of the type of highly ornate architectural style that you find in the late 19th century. It's a good example of what you can find in actually a number of other homes in this area. There's a little bit of Romanesque, there's more than a small amount of Italian influence in some of the decor that you see around the house, particularly a great deal of ornamentation on the woodwork.
So many of Scranton's buildings display classic examples of many different kinds of architecture. The Lackawanna County Courthouse is one of them. It's a building that's more than 100 years old. One of the most imposing structures is the Scottish Rite Cathedral. known as the Masonic Temple. It contains a 2,000-seat theater, several ballrooms, meeting rooms, and a library. From the nickels and dimes of the Irish immigrants who lived on Shanty Hill has risen this beautiful monument known as Nativity Church.
All their stained glass windows are unique. Even the murals around the altar there. I have never seen them, and I've been in Rome, and I've seen many, many churches. And I've never seen the design that is in Nativity Church.
These impressive buildings were crafted when Scranton was a boom town and a new hometown for many immigrants who came to work on the railroad and in the mines. We can meet some of these early settlers and see the towns that they built here at the Pennsylvania Anthracite Heritage Museum.
There were about 25 different ethnic groups that came to this area. So we have a rich ethnic heritage, and at this museum we try to explore that with our research library. For example, we talk about the early canal systems, the railroad systems. The coal section is very good with showing the type of work that men did in the mines. We also have a 1908 loggia on loan at this museum, which is a key piece to the exhibit. All of these pieces are symbolic of the past, and when people find out that they're original to the history and culture of the region, it's quite exciting for them. It's a tangible link to the history of the area. And of course, we can't forget the major textile industries in the region, both silk and lace. It's one of the largest collections of textile machinery in the region. And I think these exemplify where most of the women and children would have worked, whereas the men would have worked in the mines.
Scranton's most well-known occupation is so dramatically preserved. Just a few steps from the Anthracite Museum, when you go 300 feet underground and actually meet a miner in the national award-winning Lackawanna Coal Mine.
You now board a car. We take about 25 people down at a time. You go underground, and once you get off the car, the first thing you see and you're explained is the contour of how the veins run.
You've just come down a slope, the same slope used by the miners originally, a distance of some 1,500 feet. Now you're 250 feet down. If I were to drill a hole and looking for daylight, that's how far you'd go.
The veins are then explained, how the veins run and how the area is drained, where the water goes, and then from there on, we start with the mining techniques.
The second test they did was a roof test, because the #1 problem in a coal mine as far as accidents are concerned are roof falls. And it's a simple test, and I bet you can tell me yourself, maybe never even being in a mine, what is good roof and what is bad roof by listening to the sound. All right, where do we want to eat lunch? How low did coal get in Pennsylvania? 18-inch veins were mined, a little less than half of that. The posture, of course, was done with these things here called knee pads. They spend their 8-hour shift. Before, the first thing they did was put their knee pads on. They had straps on them, strap them on, and they spent their 8-hour shifts working on what they called monkey veins. For obvious reasons, they were on all fours. I hear you moaning.
You load 16 ton, and what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store.
Never being in a coal mine before, I thought it'd be well worth the effort of coming to see it. And we were not disappointed. Matter of fact, everybody on our bus was well pleased, more than satisfied, and we thought we were getting more than our money's worth.
Scranton's heritage in railroading runs just as deep as it does in mining. In fact, Congress just recently designated Scranton as the nation's newest National Historic Site. The National Park Service has begun to build the National Museum of American Railroading here. We have on display a fascinating collection of steam-era locomotives and passenger cars. And depending on the timing of your visit, we might have the chance to actually take a ride into the foothills of the Pocono Mountains on one of these incredible preserved dinosaurs. Ooh, I hope we're working up a big appetite, because not only was Scranton noted for hard workers and great builders, but fabulous cooks. Or maybe you're a fan of eating in the great outdoors. What we have in mind is a mountaintop barbecue. The skiers enjoy the view from the top of Scranton's mountain at both Elk and Montage. That's in the winter, of course. But you'll find a crowd on the mountains in the good old summertime, too. We're going to ride the chairlift to the summit. There's a spectacular view of the Lackawanna Valley from the top and a mouth-watering mountain cookout back at the lodge.
And we have some very good parties during the summer here in which people will come up and spend the day under the big tent where our barbecue is held outside, and then they can come into the cool, air-conditioned lodge and relax. During the evening, we're featuring the Pennsylvania Summer Theater Festival. You can go up and see a legitimate theater presentation of some of the finest works that has been seen on Broadway in the last 10 years.
Professional summer theater. A perfect evening in the Pennsylvania mountains. But you've got other options as well. A good bet for fun at the races means a visit to Pocono Downs. It's the fastest 5/8 mile track in the nation. And when we're done horsing around, we'll head for a real growing attraction. It's the vineyards at the Priate Family Winery.
Right now, at the present, we have 11 wines to be tasted. Everybody that comes down is welcome to tasting. If they want to see the operation, we'll take them through, and they'll see how the wine is made.
Another colorful part of Scranton's history is portrayed in the Marine Corps League Museum.
Well, as you walk through, you can actually see the difference in uniforms and in weapons and in equipment, say from the Revolutionary War until Iwo Jima, the flag raising on Mount Suribachi. Most people don't realize that the Marine Corps is as old as it is. They have no idea of all the campaigns that the Marine Corps has been in. We do not honor war here, we honor the warriors.
Northeastern Pennsylvania's only natural history museum is the Everhart Museum in Scranton's Naog Park. It contains an extensive collection of birds, mammals, and native wildlife, along with a newly refurbished modern art gallery and an impressive collection of door flinger glass. Well, Phoebe always spoke in rhyme, so of course you know it's farewell time. But there's so many tales I've still to tell of folks and places I remember well, days and events of long ago. Come share them all with Phoebe Snow. Board your coaches from east or west and visit Scranton. Be my guest.
It's Scranton.